So in anticipation of the Chieftain replacing the FV215B, I decided I'd give this thing a bit of a last hurrah. As it happens, the Chieftain isn't in 10.0 test, as far as I can tell. I haven't seen it. The 215B is still the 210 British Heavy. I think Wargaming is still trying to figure out how to balance the Chieftain, because from what I saw of the Super Test leaks, it's really, really good. A bit too good. So this thing will probably stay in for at least a while, unless we see a second test iteration with the Chieftain in it. Fingers crossed at the moment. In any case, as I've said before, I do quite enjoy the 215B, even if it is a bit weird, and so I would have liked to give it a good send-off. Now, I was playing it a pretty ropey hour, sort of mid to late evening my time. NA West is usually a complete shitfight at that hour, and it's rare to see anyone who's not garbage. In fact, I've found myself in a pretty decent match with a lot of good players, and on an alright map. Mines isn't too bad for this tank. West was kind of open, so that's where I headed. It also plays into the hands of my vehicle a bit, having good front armor but absolutely no side armor at all. I can get on this corner and hold it. Playing a bit carelessly at the moment, not trying to side scrape or anything to what capacity this tank can anyway. I just want to get quick shots out. I do have a Foch in support and a mouse. The mouse will probably more aggressive, whereas the Foch appears happy to hide behind me, which I can't blame him for. He doesn't really have the same level of armor as he once used to. In fact, the Foch can be penetrated from the front through its side armor by even fairly small guns. It's really just not strongly armored. Unfortunately, I whiffed a shot on the 430 Variant 2 there, but he does get cleaned up by one of my teammates, giving me a shot at the E4 as it comes around the corner. Now I back out here. I am kind of half-assedly side-scraping, but I eat a shell there from the JB100 in the enemy base. That was bound to happen sooner or later, but that one shot wipes out half my hit points. In fact, more than half of my hit points. So that was really a hit that I couldn't afford to take. Thankfully, there's no artillery in this match. If there was, then the position I'm in right now would be extremely dangerous, and that hit from the JP would have almost certainly sealed my fate. However, the JP does have a fairly long reload to contend with, and he has to fully expose himself to get a shot off. And with the Foch and mouse pushing up my left side, I'm able to play with E4 a bit and catch him inside of the turret as he tries to aim at them. The enemy have a 1390 spotting on the island. We don't actually have any presence on the island, but we do have a lot of tanks in position to fire at it. You can see me really taking a big risk here rolling out around this rock, but the JPE shouldn't see me now that his eyes are down. The E4 was spotting me for him. Both teams are playing this pretty well. Although we control the hill, the enemy haven't allowed that to affect their game too badly. They're starting to flank out through the island, and they have a strong defense in their base. The JP is lit, and I'm able to get a shot off through these trees. He doesn't actually spot me in the process, which is interesting. And you can see there the enemy pushing a pair of mediums, it looks like both of their 62As, down the beach, with an Object 263 in support and the 1390 using that as a distraction to move up. That's actually a pretty interesting maneuver. They are facing a JPE there amongst other things, but that's a pretty good idea when you're trying to counter a team that controls the hill. Because while the hill does have shots on the island, it doesn't have shots on the beach. And so it's much more difficult to control that position. The best way to counter a beach push is to just position tanks at the top of the beach and try and keep the enemy on the beach itself and then flank around them from behind. Foch moves up, begins firing. He's pretty exposed out there though, so he's trying to use a wreck as cover. The mouse is pulling back. Now, if I was that mouse, I'd be pushing, and I wouldn't stop. But he's quite hesitant. I mean, he is facing some big guns, but it's not ideal. As we just saw, there's an ISU up on that ridge. There's also a T-28 Proto covering it, and a second ISU further back. At the moment though, I have a shot at the E5, which thankfully isn't able to extinguish the fire I set. And then I look for a shot on the T-28 Proto, and get one through the front of his turret. The T-28 Proto does have fairly substantial hull armor on the front, but the front of its turret, either side of the gun manlet, is a very easy weak spot to hit at mid-range. The ISU bounces a shot at my front plate. The 215B's frontal armor is deceptively thick. It's also very well angled, so if he hits from the side like he did there, I was turning as he shot me, there's a good chance he'll bounce. And of course that's exactly what happened. Unfortunately for me, I'm now perma-tracked and then wiped out while I couldn't press my gun enough to hit that T-28 Proto. So now it's down to spectating the rest of the match. The teams have pretty much evened out. The enemy came back from an initial disadvantage to reach more or less parity with us. The T-62s on the beach, one of them died, the other pulled back, which is, not necessarily a bad move on their part. I'm guessing because of that T-54E one. However, we do still have the hill up our sleeve, and we do also still have a mouse with most of his hit points, about 2/3 of his health. He's rolling straight in the face of the JPE, loses a massive chunk of his health there, half of what he had left. Now, he is being covered by the Leopard, but because the mouse is pushing into the JPE, rather than baiting him around the corner, the Leopard can't get shots, and so the Leopard's just engaging target slot opportunity, which in this case is the T-28 and shortly the ISU. The JPE is intelligent enough to know that he can't back up any further, and so he baits the mouse up and finishes it with another shot. Not looking good for us. The Leopard has a good position to engage that JPE, he's basically got him pinned down, but if the JPE is able to get a snapshot into the Leopard, or if the Leopard is pushed by these two mediums, which is now almost a certainty, he's fucked. The E50 is on 6 hit points, a single HE shell from anything in the match will kill him. The Leopard's got a few more hit points to play with, but they're not going to last. Thankfully, the T-62A now finds himself alone. He's one shot for the Leopard unless he minimum rolls. The E-50M could also finish him in one shot. And so we have two medium tanks versus one, although one of ours is very nearly dead. If they time this well, because they're attacking from two different directions, they might be able to finish this guy. Gets one cheeky shot into the Leopard there, which makes this an even closer game, as if it needed to be. And it's becoming imperative now. These two have to deal with the 62A before the ISU or JB100 can get to the hill. And they're going to be shifting towards the hill right now. 62A is relit. The Leopard waits, tries to draw him out. The E-50M's moving into position. He's very carefully slid down the hill. He would have probably been holding his breath as he did that, because 6 hit points will not last if you bump the ground. Down goes 62A, his tunnel vision being his downfall, and we now have two mediums, both of them very near dead, versus the two tank destroyers. When last spotted, the JP had 874 hit points, which is a lot to chew through in a medium. The ISU near dead. The JP manages to get the Leopard, hitting him from behind, but the E-50M is now in a position to hit the JPE, but the ISU pops up, so he deals with that first, and I thought we'd had it at this point, but thankfully the JPE was very slow to reload. He may have even lost his loader or ammo rack, and so the E-50M is able to kite him around the rock, and now finds himself in a position of advantage. This is what the E-50M wants. The JPE now has to chase him around the rock. and that gives the E50M the opportunity to do that and pop the JPE while he's turning. Very close game, very well played from both teams, although only a few people on each team were actually putting out damage. Both teams had good map control, which in many cases can be more important than everyone doing consistent damage. You just need a couple of damage dealers while everyone else holds their ground. So a really well played match, a really tense match, real nail biter at the end. Not the kind of quality I expected from NA West in the evening, to be honest, but it was good. It was certainly a good send-off, but alas, it may not be the send-off for the 215B. We will have to wait and see what test iteration 2 brings. I certainly won't complain if it lingers a bit longer, but I do desperately want to get my hands on the Chieftain, so we'll see what happens. But the 215B, for the amount of time I've had it, has been an absolutely fantastic tank. It's really just in a class of its own. Its weird layout does make it a bit finicky to use at times, but it has pretty decent frontal armor, deceptively strong turret. Many people forget that it's actually about twice as thickly armored as the Conqueror's turret, despite looking exactly the same. It's one of the many benefits of inventing tanks from scratch, more or less. And it's got good mobility, a good gun. It's kind of been ousted, I think, by the recently buffed E5. The E5's frontal armor is now much more reliable, possibly about as reliable as the 215's, maybe even more. But, I mean, it is a unique tank, it does have a unique playstyle, and it is a lot of fun to actually take out and play. So, it's been a fun ride, but I think we'll probably be getting off of it pretty soon. The 215B will probably stay in the game. I think Wargaming did say at some point that they changed their mind on removing it and wanted to keep it in some form. I've seen renders of an HD model for it, and they certainly wouldn't go to that effort unless they planned on keeping it. Who knows what they'll do? It may become a Clan Wars reward tank, it may become a personal mission reward. I don't know. It's likely to stay a tier 10 or at least a tier 9. I can't see it going down to 8. So I don't think it'll be a regular premium tank. It'll have to be some kind of reward. Hopefully one I can get, because I'd really enjoy to have this thing back. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. And as ever, I'll see you on the next one.